Lanigan on your left, who is playing red-white Eldrazi. We saw this actually last round. Did not perform particularly well there, but we'll see if it performs pretty well here.
And this is a matchup that I'm sure Todd is prepared to play against. The red-white Eldrazi deck is basically just a morph of the mono-red Eldrazi deck that we saw become very popular at the end of last season.
Yep. Kind of a free splash, really, if you think about it.
It is a free splash, and everyone expects it to be a big deck still in the format. So I'm sure Todd has played against it a lot and is ready to compete.
It's a Jace on turn number 2 for Mr. Anderson. Lanigan with a Needle Spires, a Westvale Abbey, and now there's a Declaration in Stone. So Anderson will get a clue. And remember that does exile, so that's one less card in the graveyard for Jace.
The next Jace, not going to be too close.
Yeah. There's the clue for Anderson. Picked up a copy of Shivan Reef for the turn. He'll play that along with another Jace and pass the turn back. We'll see if Lanigan has another answer.
If the first Jace doesn't work out, might as well just have another Jace, right?
Absolutely. There's a waste.
That's an interesting choice.
I was a little bit surprised to see that myself. Checking, he just has one. And now a Vile Aggregate. I'm curious. I'm trying to think if there's like a benefit to playing one waste. I guess he does have 4 Evolving Wilds.
Evolving Wilds.
Okay.
That's it right there.
A Jace activation. Hey, Fiery Temper. Well, it doesn't kill Vile Aggregate. Todd opting to go with the old Fiery Temper artwork, by the way.
And third Jace.
Yeah. And now Thing in the Ice. It'll start with 4 counters and a passing a turn. Now, I think most people are familiar with this, but if you are not, 2 mana, 0/4 Defender. Thing in the Ice enters the battlefield with 4 ice counters on it. That's what the die represents. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, remove an ice counter from Thing in the Ice. Then, if it has no ice counters, transform it. We'll get to the transformation part in a little bit. But for now, Mike Lanigan is going to play an Eldrazi Displacer and pass the turn back. Todd has an answer ready with that with the Fiery Temper.
Oh, yeah. And we see some of the synergies in Todd's deck right away. Thing in the Ice and Jace line up to be pretty good buddies.
Yep.
Both of these want you to cast a lot of spells. And once Jace is flipped, it's going to stay on the board when Thing in the Ice does its thing.
Nice.
Yeah, you see what I did there, yeah?
I did. That was good.
Stayed up all night thinking of that one.
Well, I kept you up all night, so that's my own fault. Here's a Fiery Temper. It's going to take care of the Displacer. Thing in the Ice is going to fall down to 3 counters. Now, that's the new art. Do we have the old art for you Torment fans out there? I actually don't know which art I like better. I think they're both pretty good.
They're great art. That
was pretty good.
That is pretty good. And you know, you get to show off a little bit, like with your throwback to the past.
Yeah.
You know, most people probably weren't even playing in Torment.
Yeah, most people don't know about that set. I was around. I was really bad then, but I was around. A Drownyard Temple, don't. I know you want to make a joke. Don't. Drownyard Temple was the land.
No, I'm just thinking about the arc of your career. You were really bad then.
Yeah.
And then at some point you were...
Medium.
Medium.
At best.
Yep.
Yeah. And now back to bad.
A solid mediocre.
Yeah, and now back to bad.
Okay.
With the headset on. Here's a Thought Not Seer.
So you really peaked at medium at some
Yes,
point.
yes.
Yes. Okay.
Or as Todd would like to say, medium minus. Here's a Lightning Axe in Todd's hand, among other options for Mike Lanigan. He's going to write this information down. And Thought Not Seer is going to exile one of these cards. But you can tell, so when we watch Todd play, right, we've watched him play Jeskai Black so much over the past, 6-7 months in Standard. And that Jace would have flipped by now.
Yes.
But now, because of the lack of fetch lands, and those Jeskai Black decks were built around fetch land plus battle land, this card flips a lot slower. He's only got 2 cards in the graveyard, and it feels like he's got a long way to go.
Yep.
Now, the hand here for Todd, you can see a little bit better now. The Goggles, the Kozilek's Return. He's also got Fall the Titan and a Lightning Axe. Now, I think what Lanigan's asking here is how does Fall the Titan work? Because Todd's got some alternate language cards. When you're friends with Jerry Thompson loves a non-English card. So Fall the Titan is the card that we're going to take a look at here because I think that might be the best of the bunch. XXR, R being red, of course. Surge, X in a red. Fall the Titan deals X damage to each of up to 2 target creatures and or players. If you're surging this thing is awesome. Now Anderson's going to crack that clue to draw a card. Can't forget that happened a few turns ago. Now he's going to untap, and he'll be drawing.
We saw Todd, he had the opportunity to use the Lightning Axe there to get rid of the Thought Not Seer with the trigger on the board, but he wanted to go ahead and just bolster his hand a little bit. Cracking the clue, he needs to hit that land drop, so he got a little bit fortunate. He did draw the land. Now he's able to get the Goggles on the board, and this might be the situation he's looking for.
Now this is the part I was a little bit surprised about because Lanigan did not take the goggles with the Thought Knots here, so this is going to enter the battlefield. Legendary artifact, that's one thing to note. We'll get to that in just a moment. But add red to your mana pool. When that mana is spent to cast a red instant or sorcery spell, you get to copy that, and you may choose new targets. Now, legendary artifact is important here, Craig, because realistically, you can't play 4 of this card.
No, I mean, no one walks around with multiple pairs of goggles on at the same time.
Never seen that before.
That's just a flavor thing.
Well, here's a Reality Smasher, and here's some attacking. So Todd's actually going to take a healthy amount of damage, but that's not lethal. So now the big question is, what's Todd's turn going to look like after he gets untapped? Because now he should get to do his thing, whatever his thing is.
Yeah, Todd either needs a board sweeper here, a big X spell to get 1 or 2 or 3 of these creatures off the board, or he needs to cast enough spells to flip the thing in the ice.
Well, Lightning Axe isn't a bad place to start. Now he's going to count his mana. Keep in mind, he does get to have a Jace activation here, and Thing in the Ice could transform pretty soon here.
Lightning Axe was a great draw step for him there.
Yeah.
So now he gets to decide, does he want to double up on the Lightning Axe through the goggles, or does he want to cast the Lightning Axe and then double up on one of the other spells through the goggles?
That's funny. We watch Todd play quite a bit, and one of the things that he's known for is playing very fast.
Yes.
Because he's played so much with the decks that he's played that the decision making is pretty easy. You know, I drew Lightning Axe. Okay, kill this, discard that. Maybe the Reality Smasher's trigger, activate Jace, flip it, move on with my turn. But we're in a brand new format.
Yep.
So the decision making process is actually going to take him and everybody else a lot longer because he's got quite a few options on this turn.
And this deck potentially turns the corner a lot faster than the other decks that he was playing.
It's very true.
Once the Thing in the Ice flips, you're attacking your opponent with a 7/8.
Yep.
The game ends fast. You know, once you start doubling up your X spells with the goggles, the game can end pretty fast.
He was thinking about starting with another copy of Thing in the Ice. Now he's not going to. So now he's just going to start with a Lightning Axe, I believe. And he's going to do it without the goggles. So he's just going to go after Reality Smasher.
And he has to discard 2 cards. One for the Lightning Axe cost, one for the Reality Smasher trigger.
But now he can Surge Fall the Titan, and he can cast it through the goggles. So now a bunch of damage is going to be dealt. We'll get exact confirmation on what X is going to be and where all these targets are going. This is pretty insane.
It looks like X was 4.
Okay.
And it forks.
So it happens twice.
Happens twice, but then through the goggles, it's going to happen twice again. So one of the times he's going to kill the Thought Knot Seer and put 4 damage on
the Vile Aggregate.
The Vile Aggregate.
Okay.
And then the other, he's going to finish off the Vile Aggregate and have 4 damage end up on Mike's face.
And he gets to draw a card because the Thought Knot Seer died.
And then he draws the card because the Thought Knot Seer died. So this was a big swing.
to say the least.
Average turn.
Now Todd's going to draw and discard. He's going to discard the blue-red dual land. And now Jace is going to transform.
And now he's got his whole graveyard at his disposal. The Thing in the Ice is 1 counter away from flipping. This is where he wants to be. He's still at a very healthy 11 life total.
Now, for those of you wondering at home, it's a Highland Lake is the name of the blue-red duel from Shadows over Innistrad. Don't want to say blue-red dual land because there's also the creature land that's out there in Wandering Ephemeral, and there's Shivan Reef.
Yep.
So blue-red's actually got pretty good mana, just like black-white did last year.
No, all of the enemy colors have really great mana right now. Even the ally colors line up very well to have good mana, but all of the 2-color decks right now.
So one of the things that always happens to me release weekend, you know, you browse the cards, you want to know the name of the cards and all the things they do so we can bring you good coverage at home, but you don't really know all the interactions.
Yep.
So right now I just see Jace flip and I'm thinking, okay, Todd can recast a spell through the goggles.
I don't know if this is the case.
Can that not work?
I don't know.
Now here's a Chandra, which is actually pretty good.
All right, the Chandra was what he needed here.
It's a pretty important play.
Now he has the option of going after Jace, which is the play I think he's going to make, but he can't finish the Jace off. Thing in the Ice is still sitting around to play some defense. Once Thing in the Ice flips, it comes back after Chandra to finish it off. So even though this was probably one of his best plays, it still doesn't get him anywhere.
Yeah, and if this is his best play, like the best draw or best card he has available in his deck, that means he's in some serious trouble.
Well, and it shows how far ahead Todd is. When your opponent's best play, which is Chandra, very, very powerful, doesn't do a whole lot.
Okay, Chandra's just going to minus to take care of Thing in the Ice.
Okay.
Which is fine. Now, Tormenting Voice was the draw. Hello. Mr. Anderson wants some cards, and I can't blame him. So now he discards a card, peel 4.
Yep.
Anticipate, an island, a mountain, and a wandering fumarole. Just one copy of Anticipate in Todd's deck.
Yeah, we would need to look at the goggles again to see the wording on it.
Yeah, I think it just forks a spell. So if you recast a card from Jace through that, you just get 2 of it.
And we see Todd play a little bit careful here. He could have activated his Fumarole, but he leaves it back on defense. He's so far ahead that he's going to be able to win this game.
Yeah, I don't think there's any need to really start getting aggressive and try to turn the corner, as they say. I think he's still not in the best of situations. I think he's in a good spot, but there's that Needle Spires hanging out.
Well, or another Chandra could come down.
Yeah.
You know, it's better to have the Fumarole on defense here.
Also, I have a feeling he wants to cast and Anticipate, get a little more help. Because even though he drew 4 cards, if you're Mike, you're probably thinking, boy, I'm in some serious trouble. But realistically, Todd's hand not that great right now.
Yes. But he does have access to that whole graveyard with the Jace on the board.
Yep. 2 Hedron Crawlers. How about 1 Hedron Crawler?
No, I would like to cast these both
right.
at the same time.
2 Hedron Crawlers, it is correct. Now here's an Anticipate for Anderson. Take a look at the top couple of cards here. A Mountain, a Tormenting Voice, and a Magmatic Insight. Anderson with just 2 lands in his hand, an Island, and a Wandering Fumarole. So I think he took the Magmatic Insight. Yes, he did.
The same as the Tormenting Voice, -1 mana.
And he's drawn another copy of Magmatic Insight. So here's one. Discard an island. Peel 4. So a Jace, a Shivan Reef, a Chandra of his own, and another copy of Thing in the Ice.
Yeah, we saw Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time rotate out of the format,
Yep.
but Todd has figured out another way to draw an unfair number of cards for basically no mana.
Got to build your own Treasure Cruise.
Yeah.
Here. Now Todd got to do even a little bit more math to see how broken his turn can be. One of the cards that is kind of innocuous at this point, but I think could play a really big role in Todd's deck this weekend is Drownyard Temple. Such a great discard to Jace.
It is a madness card to me.
Okay.
That you don't have to pay the cost on right away.
Okay, that's an interesting way to look at it. Never considered that. But that makes sense because you don't have to. And it's another card, again, that you can discard to Jace, you can discard to Magmatic Insight, all the other things that you mentioned. So that's actually pretty nice is now here's Fall of the Titan being surged. I think, it's tough to say what maybe the best card in his deck is because we're just watching the first game, but Fall of the Titan looks unreal in his deck. It's so easy to surge, and he's got so much mana to work with. Now here's another copy of Jace, Wandering Fumarole. He's used all of his mana.
Still has cards in his hand, still has the graveyard available next turn.
Yeah, this is like turn 9, so that's a dream come true. He's really just running Lanigan out of resources here. Now Mike, he's got to find another card like a Chandra that we saw a little bit earlier, but again, the situation here for him is what's the best draw in his deck to get him out of the spot, and I don't know if there is one.
And there's been a lot of hype around Westvale Abbey coming into this event, but with the games that we've watched, things are either too out of control at the very beginning of the game, or they're too out of control towards the end of the game for the Westvale Abbey to be significant. Not saying it's a bad card, still a great effect, but from what we've seen, it's just not the most effective card.
Yeah, through 2 rounds, we have seen it just kind of hanging out there.
Yeah.
We have not seen activations. We have certainly not seen it transform yet as here comes Needle Spires. Looks like Anderson's just going to take that hit. He's going to fall down to 7. There's another copy of Westvale Abbey and a passing of the turn over to Anderson. He'll untap all those lands and the Goggles, and he'll draw a card. Looks like he may have picked up another copy of Goggles. And he'll start with Magmatic Insight, but he's not going to Goggles it. He'll discard a Shivan Reef. Thing in the Ice is going to fall down to 2 ice counters. Insight and a Highland Lake are the draw.
Well, yeah, with Fall of the Titans in his graveyard, he might have plans for that in the Goggles.
Mm-hmm.
We see a Chandra in his hand.
He'll Insight again. Discard Highland Lake, draw 2 cards. Thing in the Ice is going to fall down to 1 ice counter. Picked up a Tormenting Voice in a mountain. Jace is going to tick down. You mentioned Fall of the Titans. You found it. That's a land. This is a big one of those. I think Mr. Anderson's going upstairs. And now Thing in the Ice is going to transform.
He did 6 twice with Fall of the Titans for 12, and then Thing in the Ice is going to come in crashing in here for another 7.
Yeah, that's an Awoken Horror. Now, I believe that Jace is going to have to get picked up because it's not a horror, but that's the only thing.
Yeah.
As now Anderson will attack for lethal. Mike Lanigan's going to concede the game. So Todd Anderson's going to win game number 1 here over Mike Lanigan. Blue-red control up a game over red-white Eldrazi, and that deck looked impressive there.
Well, it definitely fired on all cylinders. It didn't get out too far behind, and once the goggles are on the board, wow.
Very, very powerful effect. We'll take a look at sideboards now, see if Mike can tie things up. Now, he's got 3 Spatial Contortions, 3 Angelic Purge, 3 Eldrazi Obligator, 2 Quarantine Fields, 2 Akum Firebird, a Nahiri, the Harbinger, and then a Thought-Knots here. What do we like here, Craig?
I can see, it depends on what route Mike wants to take here. I can see Spatial Contortions coming in to try to help mitigate the early Jaces, and they can also finish off Thing in the Ice when it blocks. Angelic Purge, just exiling things is obviously a powerful effect. The Thought-Knot Seer is going to be good to go after Todd's hand. So these are all cards that I can see coming in. He might want to get more aggressive. The Akum Firebird at least has evasion. It can come over the top. So we'll see which path Mike thinks he needs to take in this game. Does he need to kill the early Jaces, or does he just need to be as aggressive as possible and attack?
For Anderson, 4 Eldrazi Obligators, 4 Fevered Visions. That's a new one from Shadows over Innistrad. 3 Negates, 2 Void Shatter, a Chandra Flamecaller, and another copy of Kozilek's Return.
I expect Todd to get even more controlling than he is.
Okay.
A lot of these counter spells are very good against the Eldrazi deck. Their best threats cost 4, 5, 6 mana. So being able to cast Negate for 2 or Void Shatter for 3 is going to be very powerful against those decks.
Yeah, those kind of mana exchanges are what you want to make.
Yeah.
3 mana for a 5 mana spell, 3 mana for a 6 mana spell, or negating a Chandra. That's 2 mana for 6 mana. So that's living the dream, as they say.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is a matchup where you want the Fevered Visions. The Eldrazi deck can't always get a lot of cards out of its hand real fast. So, like I said, Todd's played this matchup before. So if he knows he can control the board enough, he might want to bring in the Fevered Visions as another win condition.
Okay. Well, we'll see what he does as game number 2 will be underway here in just a moment. But in the meantime, we are talking Game Night, the very popular StarCityGames.com promotion.
Oh, yeah, look at that guy.
How can you not love a slopper mile driver? Now, there's not a lot of time left in April to get this thing, so go to go.starcitygames.com/game night and find out where you can go pick up the mile driver. That's in April. For May, well, it's the Manatary Mentor. A play on
This is a very wise creature.
Monastery Mentor. See, it's a very smart manatee. Now, my favorite one. Now, I get to have fun because I work in the home office, so I know what's coming.
Sure.
This is one of my favorites. Old June, the Otter spell, which is a play on
Lightning Bolt.
Exactly. So you nailed that. It's perfect. That's a different type of Lightning Bolt there, an Otter spell. That one's available June. StarCityGames.com Game Night. Find your local one, have some fun, play some fun and friendly Magic. Go to StarCityGames.com/game night for more information about this awesome program. A play on Lightning Bolt.
Yeah.
An Otter spell. Because what else could it be?
Perfect fit.
Exactly. I agree. Todd Anderson, going to do a little bit of resideboarding here. Now, he's good at this whole Magic thing. Looks like 26 SCG Tour top.
Oh, I'm even closer than I thought I was.
Yeah, I thought it was 28.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get my numbers wrong. That's actually in our favor here.
Yeah.
Together we could chase him down once we take these headsets off. 6 open wins, 3 invitational top 8s with 1 invitational win. Has the most open series top 8s of all time. Married to the wonderful Callie Anderson, who is unfortunately not here with us today on the stage, but she's probably watching Todd play right now. So hi, Callie. And then self-proclaimed best NFL Blitz player ever, which many have debated, but no one, oddly enough, has challenged him to a duel.
Well, and when you're self-proclaimed, who can argue with you?
That's really true.
You know.
I hadn't even considered that. He feels like no one can beat him. To be fair, and we've mentioned this before, when I challenge his NFL Blitz title, he starts rattling off combos and plays in the game as though it's not a button mashing game, which is already just way ahead of
Yeah, I was
most
about to
people.
say that now you just immediately back down.
Exactly, yeah. He just starts rattling off some number of combos in the deck, and he probably knows who the best players are, and I have a little interest in maybe Googling NFL Blitz strategy, see what shows up.
Sure. So you said, "Oh, Todd, we can play NFL Blitz," and he said, "Oh, do you use this combo and do you use this player and do you use this play?" And you said, "All right, we cannot play NFL Blitz."
Yeah, I'd actually like to keep testing the matchup that we're playing instead of the NFL Blitz matchup, because I feel like maybe I could beat you in that one.
Me, as a subpar Magic player, has a better chance
of beating you, the self-proclaimed best NFL Blitz football player. Hopefully.
I think he would get the best of us on both fronts.
I have a feeling you're right.
Yeah.
I do. And he's also winning the hair game right now, too.
He's looking sharp.
That's like a Mohawk-esque thing. esque. It's good. It's really good. I wish I could do that with my hair. Instead, I have this mess on top of my head I can't do anything with.
You should be proud of that mess.
There's nothing to do with it. It's horrible. The only thing I can do is just keep growing it. And then if I ever have any aspirations of growing an afro, I can't because of this job. Because then the headset just won't fit.
That would be awesome if you just had the world's longest headset strap.
The headset just starts off the screen.
Just a comically big headset strap.
It's just never in play if I ever want to do that again.
But yeah, I worked for a rather unfortunate manager who is still rocking like the saddest comb over that you'll ever see.
That's tough.
And you should be thankful that you've got what you've got going on.
Yes, I have some hair to work with. I'd rather have Todd's hair. But then again, Todd's hair would probably look weird on me. So
It could be, you know, half a dozen lonely strands with half a bottle of gel in it. just smeared over the top of the rest of your bald head. Like, that's not where you want to be.
here's a Thopter engineer. It's going to bring a hasty Thopter along with it. I think we'll see Mike attack for one, and he will. Anderson with a couple of Blue Red events to start with a Shivan Reef and a Highland Lake and the very powerful Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Jace is active as we head to Todd's third turn. He'll start by activating it. And he'll draw discard. Mountain was the draw. The discard. Aha.
Oh,
It's free.
it's so good.
Now let's take a look at Drowned Yard Temple, excuse me, because in a weird way, this is actually ramping,
Yes,
which is really cool.
it's super good. This is one of the cards I tweeted about when the full spoiler list came out. This is one of the cards I'm most excited about. It's very simplistic. I think it's easy to overlook just how good a card like this is. And Todd has made his deck in a way to maximize it. He's got all of these discard effects, the Magmatic Insights, the Tormenting Voice.
There's Kozilek's return.
Oh,
Right.
jeez.
You thought perhaps that he was going to bring back the temple. No, just kill all your stuff instead and take one from the old Thopter engineer.
Yeah.
Now Anderson will untap. Oh, hello. Jorian, Ruin Diver perhaps?
Yep. Couple of those in his list.
Yeah, he's playing two of that card. And he has the ability to play multiple spells in one turn pretty easily.
Oh, yeah.
That's not hard at all.
But Todd has to be careful here. If a Reality Smasher comes down next turn and a Chandra the turn after that, he is way behind.
Yeah. Now here's Jorian. This is not one I expect to see a lot of play post rotation, so this is a welcome surprise. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. And in certain turns, Jorian can actually count as the first spell.
Yes.
So you follow up, and then you'll actually be able to trigger this. Now there's a Thought-Knot Seer.
And it'll work on either player's turn.
Very true. Thought-Knot Seer is going to show two Jaces, a Goggles, and a Shivan Reef. Now I'm curious, given the last game.
I can't imagine the Goggles staying the same.
Yeah, I think that's got to go. That card was so powerful last game against Mike that if I'm Mike, there's a little bit of recency bias here, and I'm saying that thing's out of here. That's got to go.
You know, it was above average in game one,
Yeah.
so let's try it this other way.
Anderson's going to start with a Jace, it looks like. I'm curious if he's going to play another Jace, and he will, actually, so that he can trigger this. So he'll draw a card. You have my Coast of the draw.
So the one just basically just cycles for 2 mana.
That's probably not too bad. There's a Mountain and a Passing of the turn. We're heading back Lanigan's way.
And we see Mike has brought in a lot of the removal spells in his deck.
Not too surprising.
Not too surprising. It looks like he's got the Angelic Purge in his hand, and then he's got the Declaration in Stone that was in the main deck.
Thought-Knot Seer is going to come across for 4. Anderson's going to fall down to 14. Let's see what's next here for Lanigan in the second main phase. Looks like he's going to pay for a little bit of white man off the Battlefield Forge, going to take care of Jace. A clue going to come here for Anderson. The follow-up is Vile Aggregate.
Okay, and it wasn't Reality Smasher into Planeswalker, but it is a significant board presence.
Fiery Temper the draw here for Anderson. He'll start by playing a Shivan Reef. Now he's got to figure out how he wants to sequence cards so he can actually get the most out of Jorian.
Which is a tough spot. He wants to sink some mana into his land in order to be able to block effectively next turn. Maybe he doubles it up with Fiery Temper. I don't think he has enough mana to do that right now. But he also wants to crack the clue. He needs to build up more cards in his hand.
Yeah, one of the things that he actually has going on within his lands is he has a copy of Wandering Fumarole.
Yes.
So that can actually do a nice job of trading with the Thought-Knots here, but then it also net Anderson a card, though he'll be down a land. So he's actually got quite a few options here on what he wants to do. On Lanigan's side, he's going to start with another Vile Aggregate. I'm curious if Mike's going to attack or not.
And I can see Lanigan not being willing to cash in a Thought-Knots here. I guess he's going for it.
Okay. Anderson reaching for those lands very quickly.
I guess he feels like he has enough board presence, enough pressure that it's a waste not to attack.
So there are the blocks. Wandering Fumarole is going to go in front of Thought-Knots here. Jorien's going to go in front of Thopter Engineer, and Vile Aggregate's going to come across here for a healthy chunk of damage. Anderson's going to spin the Wandering Fumarole. He's going to use the mana from that and the Mountain to crack the clue. So that'll give him a card. I think he picked up a copy of Anticipate. Now he's ready for damage, and damage is going to resolve. So, Wandering Fumarole and Thought-Knots here are going to trade. Vile Aggregate's going to deal some damage, and I think we'll see Anderson get a card here in just a moment, but they want to make sure they get damage resolved appropriately. And they do.
And it's actually important that Mike remembers that trigger because it's his card.
Correct. So now he will draw. Well, he'll mill first. Oh, because of ingest from Vile Aggregate.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, and now he'll draw.
So they were probably just talking about how those abilities were going to stack and resolve.
Yeah, Vile Aggregate is a really weird card because it has a bunch of lines of text that kind of go together but don't.
They do go together, but it's not super intuitive. And there's only 12 lines of text on it, so it's easy to forget about some of these abilities.
So you got Devoid. Its power and toughness equal to the number of colors creatures
Just
you control.
power.
Yeah, excuse me, power.
Yep.
Trample, and then ingest. Now, Todd's turn here, not bad. He's going to start with Thing in the Ice, then he'll hard cast a Fiery Temper, which means he'll draw a card from Jorien and then remove an ice counter from Thing in the Ice. Thing in the Ice down to 3 counters. And those Vile Aggregates currently just 2 power creatures.
Yep.
So now we head back Mike Lanigan's way. Now, you mentioned Reality Smasher a couple of times, and now here it is, and that's a big draw.
Boom.
Anderson at 11 life. Here come the Vile Aggregates. They're 3 power now. And that certainly changes some things. Now, Thing in the Ice can get in front of 1.
Yep, that's the easy block. Now the question is, do I chump block now? Can I save this a turn?
Yeah, the tough part here is Anderson's hand is Anticipate and Fiery Temper.
Yes.
So he has the ability to draw another card with Jorien if he'd like.
Yes.
But his life is going to take quite a hit here.
Yeah, it's precarious.
Yeah.
And he's looking to flip that Thing in the Ice as soon as possible.
Yeah, he wants to make him pick everything up.
Yeah.
That's so important at this stage. And I think Jorien's going to hang out for another turn.
Yep, he's going to take 8, ingest.
Exiling that land, not going to the graveyard, which will matter, I think, in other situations, but not this one.
Sure. And that Drown Your Temple that Todd had discarded early in this game hasn't come into play yet. Mike said enough pressure to just be on him the whole game.
Here's Anticipate. Remove an ice counter. Take a look at the top couple. Magmatic Insight's probably the best if he can find it. Fiery Temper, not great right now.
Yeah, that's an awkward one because of his mana constraints.
Mm-hmm. He's going to take the Temper. Keep in mind he has not played a land yet this turn, and he's certainly going to get to draw another card because of Jorien.
Yes.
So what comes next? Mountain's going to be the land for Todd.
Well, he's got to cast one of these Fiery Tempers here.
Ooh, he is not.
Oof.
Huh. I wonder what the plan is. I feel like I'm missing something.
Me too. It's possible Todd thinks it's more effective if he bluffs a card here.
Okay.
You know, maybe he gets his opponent to make a scared attack.
Okay. I'm going to take one. I think we have a Declaration of Stone on the way. Yep, he's going to cast that on Thing in the Ice. All right, Anderson. Fiery Temper. Oh,
we did miss it.
He's too smart. Okay.
We did miss it.
Yeah, we missed it. All right. This makes him discard. And now, oh, man, this is release week. This is when you miss things on the board. This is awesome. So actually, Fiery Temper was an awesome draw.
Yes. So Todd is a little bit better at Magic than we are.
A touch. Just a touch. Just a touch. So now that's going to transform, trigger, bounce all the things, get my Jorien back, which means he might be able to use that to draw another card. And now Declaration Stone will resolve, because it's still targeting the same thing.
Yep.
Keep in mind, because of what happened with the old Planeswalkers from Magic Origins, like Jace leaves play and then comes back as a new Planeswalker. When Thing of the Ice transforms, it's still in play, just transforms to Awoken Horror, so you're still targeting the same thing.
So this was really fun. It was neat seeing Todd see that play.
Yeah.
But he's probably still just going to lose this game.
I think he's still in some trouble.
Yeah.
Now he's going to play Jorien again. And now here's another copy of Thing of the Ice.
Okay, he drew another Thing of the Ice. That was a good draw for him.
So he draws a card. Goggles is the kind of card that can catch you up. There's a Jace. All right.
Okay.
This might be manageable. Now, on Lanigan's side, we know he's got another Vile Aggregate, that Reality Smasher still. He'll draw a card for the turn. It's a Mountain. That one doesn't play a huge role in things as he plays it. Anderson down to 2. Mike going to survey things a little bit here.
Yeah, his best play is probably just get the Reality Smasher back on the board and attack with it. But he's going to take a look at things and see if there's a better line of play in there.
There's Reality Smasher. Here come the beatdowns. Vile Aggregate, a 2-power creature right now, so we'll see how Anderson wants to block.
Now, yeah, both of those creatures have trample, so Todd has to be very careful.
Yep. Looks like Thing of the Ice is going to jump in front of Reality Smasher, and then Jorien's going to go in front of Vile Aggregate. The thought process here is, I don't think I'm going to die.
Well, and he's going to need a lot of cards to get back into this game, and Jace is the way to do that.
Sure. Trample over for 1. Anderson's going to fall down to 1. Now he'll untap. Can he come all the way back from 1 life? That's what we're going to find out as he takes a draw step. It was a Mountain. And Jace is going to go active. Time to draw and discard. Drownyard Temple is the easy discard. Transformation complete here into the Telepath Unbound. Keep in mind, Anderson has not played a spell yet this turn for Jorien, though he's got some things to choose from in the graveyard. It's going to go down to 2. And he's going to start with Anticipate, looking for a little bit of help. Time to draw, or excuse me, take a look at the top 3. It's a Shivan Reef, a Mimetic Insight, and a Mountain. He'll take Insight. I believe he's on the hunt for Lightning Axe.
Sure. Well,
Goggles, draw from Jorien. Fall of the Titan was the draw.
good one, but his mana is already all tied up.
Mm-hmm. See how he wants to do this now. Does he want to insight with a land or with the goggles?
I think he's playing for the best possible scenario where you leave the goggles up.
I think he's just got to look at two. I think he's got to look at as many cards as possible.
Yeah, he's going to see as many cards as possible. The greedy play is, hope that you draw the lightning axe in the top two.
Okay.
And then you get to fork it
kill
with the goggles.
Sure.
Yeah.
So now, is he just lightning axe instant.
Yeah.
Never mind. Okay.
Yep.
All right, pass the turn back. He's hanging on.
Yeah, this would be a pretty spectacular win if Todd was able to pull this out.
What comes next here for Mike might just be a vile aggregate pre-combat to make the other one a little bit larger.
Yeah, a little more power.
Now Jorien is a 3 toughness creature, if memory serves.
2-3 for 3.
Needle Spires. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
He saw.
So the question was, is he willing to activate Needle Spires to try to kill me? If the answer is yes, I lose. If he plays Vile Aggregate pre-combat to make his other Vile Aggregate a little bit larger, then I get to play another turn.
Yep.
So Mike thought things through there, because he almost cast that Vile Aggregate.
Yes.
But he thought things through, realized the Needle Spires was out there on the battlefield, and Anderson immediately concedes the game as he saw that line of play. So Mike Lanigan with Red Eldrazi and Todd Anderson, Blue-Red Control, going to game number 3.
And probably one more turn for Todd probably would have been enough.
With the goggles out there.
Yeah, he had a whole new hand.
Yep.
He had the goggles.
So we take a look at the sideboard yet again. Anderson going to be on the play here, and what you basically predicted, I think, happened here, because we saw a negate in Todd's hand at the end of the game along with the Void Shatter, so he's going to board in those cheap counter magic spells, and Mike's going to board in more removal to take care of Jason Jorien.
Yes.
So not too much of a surprise there. Game 3 going to be underway here in just a moment. Who do you think this favors?
Todd's going to be on the game, on the play this game, which I think is going to be a pretty big edge. And I think it's a big advantage playing a deck where your opponent doesn't know all of the cards that are going to come at you. So I'll pick Todd. Todd has the advantage here. And I've got to think that Todd is, no offense to Mike, but just the better Magic player in this match.
I think so. Now, as these players shuffle and present, we'll go over two things very quickly here. Number one is the Slop and Mile Driver player packages and things that we have for our creature collection, so you can get playmat sleeves and bundles of this game night favorite at starcitygames.com/creature collection. You can also do the same with Los Tigre, the tiger.
The little cubs.
Yeah, they are adorable. Playmat sleeves and player bundles available for both of those, along with many other things. Go to starcitygames.com/creature collection for more information. Pick yours up today as we get ready here for game number 3 between Anderson and Lanigan. This has been a fun one to watch, but truth be told, I think they're all going to be fun this weekend.
There's a lot of decks in this format.
Yes, there are.
There's a lot of good cards, and it's really great seeing what people do with them.
Yeah, I like this blue-red deck. It's not the kind of deck that I would probably play, but this is so in Todd's wheelhouse.
Yes.
He loves these blue decks that, Jace is obviously very powerful. Decks that have a lot of velocity, see a lot of cards. They have a lot of decisions, but they also just have a lot of answers.
Yes.
And some small synergies. Like the Drown Yard Temple with Jace.
Yes.
Stuff like that.
Well, the power level is very high, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The big question I think that this deck answers, and as Todd is going to play presumably 15 rounds of Magic this weekend, or at least hopefully he does, is Thing in the Ice good?
Yep.
Because this is the deck I think that is maximized to flip that card with regularity, and we'll find out if the 0-4 into a 7-8 bounce all your stuff and attack and all that stuff, if that's good or not. Because I don't think that any deck does it better than this one.
Yeah.
Now there is a Shivan Reef and a passing of the turn. Mike is going to activate his Evolving Wilds, search up a basic land here.
And he could get that waste if he wanted to.
He's just going to go with the Plains, however. No waste for him.
What a waste.
Okay.
It's low-hanging fruit.
Yep,
It's just easy.
It sure is, and you just took it.
I'm not too proud of myself.
There's a Needle Spires, pass the turn back. Anderson's going to play and anticipate. He'll take one to cast it from the Shivan Reef, down to 19. A Thing in the Ice, Magmatic Insight, and a Fall of the Titan are the cards that he's looking at. He's made his selection, so he'll untap, take his third turn. And he will start with Magmatic Insight, discarding a Drown Yard Temple. Value, as they say. A Wandering Fumarole might be the land, and it is the land, and now he'll pass the turn back. Back over to Mike Lanigan we go for his third turn. He'll play a Mountain. Let's see if we can get to the board finally, though.
And this is a relatively slow start for both players, so it's got to favor Todd in a big way.
Yeah, he's under a ton of pressure.
Looks like he just peeled the goggles that he'll be able to play on turn 5.
Darn. He's just going to pass the turn back for right now. Kozilek's return at the ready by the by. Four mana, Thought-Knot Seer.
That's a good one.
Yes, it is. Void Shatter is also pretty good. That's going to counter that. It's going to exile that Thought-Knot Seer. And now Val Aggregate's going to come across for 1. One of the things that Mike's deck can't do, however, is deal with the goggles once it's on the battlefield. I do not believe he has a clean answer. I guess he has Angelic Purge in the sideboard.
Yeah, we saw that come in.
Okay. Now would be a good time to have it. There's Foundry of the Council, and now here's Reality Smasher. It's an attack for 7.
Yeah, it's possible. Just big threat after big threat. It is as good as answering that goggles with a removal spell.
Yeah. Now, Anderson does have the ability to play a Lightning Axe right now, and I think he might, and he will. So it's going to get copied. There are your targets, 2 of them. He's going to have to discard a card.
And then he's going to have to discard another card.
We'll have to check, actually, if he has to discard 1 or 2. Yeah, I think he has to discard 2, right? Because alternate cast.
Yeah, one for the cost of the axe.
And then 1 from the Smasher.
And 1 for the Smasher trigger.
Or actually, the copy. No, because the copy doesn't make you discard.
Okay.
So you target. So the copy.
Okay, so you put the first one on the Vile Aggregate.
Yep.
And then you put the copy. See, it's not the way he's lined this up.
Yeah, we'll have to see exactly if it's 1 card or 2 cards. No, that's what they're asking right now.
Yep. And we can see just how complicated Magic can get just so quick.
Yeah. Now, it's funny because I'm sure that Todd actually knows how the card works. So that's interesting because I don't know. We'll have to take a look at Reality Smasher too. It's actually pretty tough to say on what's supposed to happen here or not. I'm not entirely sure. That's why we have judges.
Yep.
And we are not those. So Jennifer Deary is stepping into the situation and helping out. Now, Reality Smasher, whenever Reality Smasher becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, now it's a copy of a spell.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But the judges will tell us.
Yeah, they will let us know, that's for sure. In the meantime, we can discuss this deck and what's going on with it. And you see Jennifer Deary actually going to the phone and the Oracle app to make sure that she knows exactly how it works. So we'll come back to the booth here very quickly because you don't want to see their faces. They want to see ours. So we will let that happen. Cedric Phillips, Greg Krempels here in the booth watching Todd Anderson and Mike Lanigan do battle. Second time we've watched Red White Eldrazi this weekend.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on it, even though it's only 2 matches?
I like the deck. It's very consistent.
Okay.
And these Eldrazi are still very powerful.
Okay.
We see Thought Nasir every time they come down. It's a threat immediately, followed by Reality Smasher. That's obviously even better threat immediately, followed by Chandra. Like,
it's a good curve.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it has to be. The question is, I think the appropriate lands. You mentioned Westville Abbey, but it's weird, right? Where that card's obviously very good, and it's basically a free roll in the deck. But is there maybe a better colorless land to play in that slot? Don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the answer is yes, maybe not. Obviously, more matches need to be played to be able to figure that sort of thing out. But
yeah, and it's easy to get caught up in that hype early.
Yeah.
When all of the writers start talking about how good Westville Abbey has been, you don't want to be the person left behind. So even if your testing shows, this card wasn't the best option, you might be inclined to play it just because you don't want to be the dummy who doesn't make top 8 without it.
Yeah, without it in your deck.
Well, 2 or 3 other people make top 8 with it in the deck, yeah.
Looks like Wandering Fumarole is going to come across. Now, we will get you an update on what the ruling was there, if he had to discard another card or not, because that was a little bit complicated. But in the meantime, Anderson did come across for a healthy chunk of damage there with his creature land. And now we head back to Lanigan. And he did have to discard additional cards for the Smasher, and now here is another Reality Smasher coming into the red zone. So, Anderson will draw a copy of Lightning Axe to go along with a Fiery Temper and a Fall of the Titan.
A little bit of everything.
But how does he navigate here? That's the question.
Yeah, I think with the cards in his hand and the way the board is set up, he's going to play as conservatively as possible. He'll probably pass the turn and hope that Mike deploys another threat before his attack step. And then he'll double down with Lightning Axe, doubled up through the goggles, discarding a Fiery Temper to deal some more damage.
The thing is, if I'm Mike in this spot, and we're working, neither player is working with perfect information, but you know that your opponent has Lightning Axe in their deck, I don't know if I want to play another threat.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think one Smasher is good enough. I've got a Westville Abbey that can make a creature. I've got a Foundry of the Councils that I'm kind of threatening right now. I'm not sure I need to play another threat.
Well, and we saw Mike in the second game see the right play.
Yeah.
He thought about playing the Vile Aggregate pre-combat, and he's like, no, let's just fire up our creature land, attack with everything, and see if that's lethal.
And now he's reaching for something here pre-combat. It's a Thopter Engineer.
And this is actually, it lines up very well for Todd.
Yes, it does. With Fiery Temper being in the equation.
Yep.
It lines up great.
He's going to get to use all of his resources very effectively this turn.
So there's a Thopter. And what's this follow-up? Hangerback Walker. Huh.
Okay.
Now that's an artifact, so it gets haste.
Yeah, I expect that haste to be turned off. Todd's going to kill a couple of creatures here, and the engineer won't be on the board.
Easy. Just a moment. Now he's actually going to let everything attack, so... How does he want to defend here?
Well, and with Fall of the Titan in his hand with the goggles, it's very possible he wants to kill the Walker this turn.
Okay.
And then next turn he can use Fall of the Titan doubled up to
kill a bunch
take
of
care of the riffraff.
Okay. But then he's still got to be concerned with those creature lands that are hanging out.
Yep.
Westville Abbey, Needle Spiders, and Foundry of the Council.
Yep, it's not going to be easy.
Huh. What to do if you're Todd Anderson. Mike Lanigan, well, his plays are pretty straightforward. Give you the beatdowns, just try to kill you.
And these Eldrazi decks take advantage of the lands that create creature effects much better than some of the other decks, because a lot of their threats are so potent that you're tapping out on your own turn to take care of them, and then they've got more gas in the tank in reserve.
Let's see, this is unfamiliar territory here for Anderson. He's typically so much more sure of himself with the decision making, but this is what happens when you work your way into a new format. Everybody's a little unsure of the decisions they need to be making. Because right now he's considering what I can do with the goggles, how my next turn's going to play out depending on what I draw, how I'm going to use Wandering Fumarole right now.
Yep. Yeah, if he wants to, he can activate the Fumarole, still have the goggles and the Fumarole as mana sources, so he can cast the Axe and cast the Madness off of the Fiery Temper.
Yep.
But you can see just trying to get that sentence out of my mouth is difficult. It's that complicated.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to have to make a play soon here. Now he's found the line that he wants. All right, so Lightning Axe. Oh, we're going upstairs. Fiery Temper you twice.
Okay, and he's got a land to rebuy out of the graveyard.
But he...
Which I guess
didn't.
He doesn't see right now.
Okay. Yeah, because he should have... I think he's got a Drawn Temple down there. Huh. Okay, so now he's just drawn Tormenting Voice. But if he wants to cast it, he has to discard Goggles. Did he? If he brings a land back, was it... Maybe Mike was dead, I'm not sure. Because it doesn't have Surge, it's just normalized then.
Correct. I believe he could have only cast it for 3.
Okay. Through the Goggles at 6?
Yes.
Okay. Now he's bringing that forward. Okay, so Tormenting Voice, discard Fall of the Titan. Draw 4. Magmatic Insight, Jace, Island. Here's Insight. If he does have a Drawn Temple in his graveyard, that was a pretty big miss. Anticipate. And a Jorian. Not sure there's an avenue here. He hasn't played a land yet.
Correct. Yeah, I think...
Okay, thing in the ice and Jace pass the turn back. Go ahead.
I guess, Todd, looking at Mike's side of the board, like you said, he still has Westfell Abbey and Foundry of the Council, and I guess Todd's thinking was, if I use all of my cards here to try to sweep up most of these creatures, and he still has cards in his hand, and he still has these creature lands on the board, my better play might be to play to drawing 1 or 2 particular cards to just win the game next turn.
Sure. This is going to put Anderson down to 1 after trample and damage is all said and done. Well, we're going to find out how explosive this deck can be right now, I think. Yeah, there's a hanger back walker for 1, pass the turn back. Yep. Mike just shrugged his shoulders, taps out, and now I don't know if this deck can do it. Mountain's certainly not going to do it. Yeah, and that's going to do it. Mike Lanigan's going to win this match over Todd Anderson, 2-1. Red-White Eldrazi will take care of Blue-Red Control. And for this one, for Todd, I'm sure it's a match he's going to go back and watch because it felt like that third game, it felt like he had the tools. The question is, did he use the tools correctly? Lightning Axe, targeting Thopter Engineer. After the creatures get to attack, it looks like a weird line of play.